He laughed at me in front of everyone, said I wasn't the girl he fell for anymore. Months later he was crying at my door, begging for another chance. When I first met Jason, he made me feel like I was the only woman in the world. He'd compliment everything about me, the way I laughed, how I dressed, even how I ordered my coffee. I wasn't perfect, but with him I felt seen. We'd been dating for almost 2 years when things started to shift. Small at first, like a hairline crack in glass that eventually splits it in half. It started after I lost my job. The stress hit me harder than I expected and I began eating more, sleeping less. My clothes fit tighter and I could tell Jason noticed. The first time he made a comment, it was harmless. "Babe, maybe you should slow down on the takeout. I mean, you don't want to lose that figure, right?" I laughed it off then. But soon those comments became daily jabs. "Do you really need dessert? You used to look so good in that dress. Maybe you should come to the gym with me, not that you'd last long." Every word chipped away at my confidence, but I tried to believe it came from a place of care. I thought if I worked harder, if I looked more like the girl he started dating, he'd love me the same again. Then came the party. His company was celebrating the launch of a new product and partners were invited. I was nervous, already self-conscious in my new dress, but Jason had insisted I come. He said it would be good for appearances. When we arrived, he introduced me around not as my girlfriend Emily, but as, "This is Emily, she used to be my gym partner." People laughed politely, but I saw the smirk on his face. My stomach dropped. Later that night, as everyone gathered near the bar, one of his co-workers made a toast, joking about how marriage makes people soft. Jason raised his glass and said loudly, "Guess Emily's just getting a head start." The room erupted in laughter. My face burned. He patted my shoulder like I was in on the joke. I excused myself and locked myself in the restroom, staring at my reflection. My makeup was perfect, but my eyes were red. That was the first night I truly saw what Jason had become, or maybe who he'd been all along. I didn't cry. Not then. Not anymore. Instead, something inside me hardened. I left the party early without telling him, went home, and for the first time I didn't wait for his apology, because deep down I knew it wouldn't come. When Jason got home hours later, he barely looked at me. "You were overreacting," he said. "It was a joke. Don't be so sensitive." That night I decided something. I wasn't going to beg for love or validation anymore. If he wanted a perfect girlfriend, he could go find one. I was done trying to fit into his mold. I began focusing on myself, not to prove anything to him but to reclaim me. I woke up early, joined a fitness class that actually made me feel good, started cooking for myself again, reading, and, most importantly, surrounding myself with people who lifted me up instead of tearing me down. Jason didn't notice right away. He was too busy with his friends, his gym, his perfect online life. But 3 months later, when he saw me at a mutual friend's event, his expression said everything. I didn't even need revenge, I already had it. But he didn't stop there. He wanted me back. And that's when I realized the best revenge wasn't walking away. It was making him regret ever letting me go. The first time I saw Jason again after the humiliation, I was at our mutual friend Hannah's engagement party. I hadn't planned to go, but Hannah insisted. She told me it would be small, intimate, just close friends. I didn't expect Jason to be there. When I walked in, the room actually went quiet for a second. I'd changed a lot, not just physically. I'd lost the weight, yes, but more importantly, I carried myself differently. I'd rebuilt my confidence piece by piece, and it showed. My smile wasn't forced anymore. Jason was standing by the bar, drink in hand, laughing with his friends. When his eyes found me, his expression froze. His mouth actually opened a little, like he was about to say something, but nothing came out. "Emily," he finally said, trying to sound casual. "Wow, you look different." I smiled. "Hi, Jason. It's been a while." He chuckled awkwardly. "Yeah, it has. You look great. Been working out." The old me would have melted at the compliment. The new me? I just nodded and turned away to greet Hannah. Jason followed me around for most of the night, always hovering near, trying to slip into conversations. When I laughed at someone else's joke, his jaw tightened. When another guy asked me for a dance, he looked like he'd swallowed glass. Later that night, when I was leaving, he caught up to me outside. "Hey, can we talk?" he asked. His voice was softer, almost nervous. "About what?" "About yes. I know things ended badly and I shouldn't have said those things at the party. I was being stupid. I miss you. I almost laughed. You miss me? Or you miss having someone to make yourself feel superior to? He blinked. No, that's not fair. You know I loved you. Loved me? I tilted my head. You mocked me in front of your coworkers, Jason. You made me the punchline of your jokes. His face fell. I didn't mean it like that. I was trying to fit in, you know? The guys were. Oh, so it was peer pressure? I said, crossing my arms. You humiliated me because your ego couldn't handle silence? He sighed. I'm sorry, okay? I really am. I've been thinking about you a lot. Maybe we could get dinner sometime? Start fresh. For a split second I almost pitied him. But then I remembered standing in that bathroom holding back tears while he laughed with his friends. I smiled sweetly. Sure, Jason. Let's get dinner. I'd love to catch up. The relief that washed over his face was almost pathetic. He had no idea that I wasn't agreeing to rekindle anything. I had a different plan. Over the next few days I played along. We texted, casually friendly. I told him I was glad he reached out. He started sending old photos of us, little messages like, remember this? And we were good together, huh? I pretended to reminisce just enough to keep him hooked. Then came the dinner. I made sure it was at a nice restaurant. One he used to say was too fancy for me. I showed up looking confident, radiant even. When he saw me, his eyes widened again. He stood up, all smiles. You look incredible, he said, leaning in for a hug. I didn't move, so he awkwardly patted my shoulder instead. As the night went on, he started reminiscing, talking about how much fun we used to have, how he'd made stupid mistakes, and how he'd changed. He even threw in, you know, my mom still asks about you. I listened, smiled at all the right times but said very little. When the waiter brought the check, Jason reached for it, and that's when I struck. You know, I said lightly, it's funny. I ran into someone from your company last week. They told me that clip from your little joke night is still floating around the office group chat. His face drained of color. What? No way, that was years ago. Yeah, but apparently someone saved it. You standing there making jokes about your girlfriend letting herself go. The internet never forgets, huh? He swallowed hard. Emily, please. I leaned closer, lowering my voice. Relax. I didn't share it. But it's a good reminder of who you used to be. He looked down, ashamed, fiddling with his napkin. I really am sorry, Emily. I want to make it up to you. Oh, Jason, I said softly. You can't make it up to me. But you can watch me move on, and realize you'll never be part of my life again. I stood up, dropped my half of the bill on the table and left him sitting there, stunned and speechless. As I walked out, I didn't feel angry or bitter. I felt free. And that was only the beginning of his regret. I thought that would be the end of it, dinner, closure and goodbye. But Jason wasn't ready to let go. Over the next few weeks, the messages kept coming. He sent good morning texts, hope you're doing well messages, random memes, the kind of lazy digital breadcrumbs that said, please don't forget me. First I ignored them. Then curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to see how far he'd go. A few days later he called me. Emily, I've been thinking, he said, voice trembling slightly. Maybe we could start over. I know I hurt you, but I've changed. Jason, I sighed, you didn't just hurt me. You humiliated me. You mocked me when I was struggling. Do you have any idea what that did to me? There was silence on the line. Then he said quietly, I think about it every day. You didn't deserve that. You were always too good for me. He was right about that part. Still, I decided to keep him talking. I wasn't trying to get revenge through cruelty. I wanted him to feel what I felt. Small, powerless, unseen. I told him we could hang out as friends and see how things went. That alone made his tone shift completely. He started acting like a lovesick teenager again, offering to drive me places, sending flowers to my office, even liking every post I made online. Meanwhile, I had started documenting my story anonymously on a Reddit-style forum. A little space where women shared their experiences of toxic relationships and how they rebuilt themselves. The support I got there was incredible. People resonated with my story, some even recognized the red flags in their own lives. Sharing it gave me strength, but it also gave me an idea. A few weeks later, one of Jason's friends, Mark, messaged me. You and Jason talking again? He asked. Why? He sent a screenshot. It was a group chat between Jason and a few of his buddies. Jason had written, yeah, Emily's coming back around. I told you she couldn't stay mad forever. I felt my stomach twist. He wasn't apologizing because he was sorry. He was doing it because he thought he'd won. I replied, "Thanks, Mark. That's all I needed to see." That night I stopped replying to Jason. Completely. No calls, no texts, no explanations. He called me 15 times over 3 days, left voicemails that swung between confused, angry, and desperate. The last one broke me into a cold smile. "Emily, please, I don't know what's happening. I love you. I'm sorry. I'll do anything." The next weekend I was invited to a mutual friend's birthday party. The same friend whose engagement party had rekindled our little game. I knew Jason would be there. I almost didn't go, but something inside me said it was time to finish this story for good. I arrived with confidence. My life had changed. I was working again, surrounded by people who made me laugh, not question my worth. I wore a sleek black dress, the same color as the one I wore the night he mocked me, only this time I owned it. When I walked in, Jason saw me immediately. His eyes lit up, but when he came over, I noticed the faint panic in his face. He looked tired, anxious, like someone who'd been losing sleep. "Emily," he said softly, "you look amazing. Can we talk? Please." I looked around at everyone watching. Some of his friends whispering, remembering what he'd done years ago. "Sure," I said. "Let's talk." We stepped outside into the cool night air. Jason rubbed his hands together, struggling for words. "I know I messed up. I know I don't deserve another chance. But I need you to know, I've been miserable without you. I was stupid. I made jokes because I was insecure. I thought making others laugh would make me feel in control. I crossed my arms. And humiliating me made you feel powerful?" His voice cracked. "It made me feel less small. You were always better than me, Em. Everyone liked you. I hated that I needed to drag you down to feel equal." That almost sounded honest, but I couldn't forget everything he'd done. "You think this is about insecurity?" I said slowly. "No, Jason. You wanted control. You wanted to feel like you could decide who deserved love and who didn't. You don't get to rewrite history just because you finally hate who you see in the mirror." He blinked, speechless. "So that's it? You're done?" I smiled faintly. "I was done the night you made me the joke. You just didn't realize it until now." I turned to walk away. He called after me, "Emily, please. I love you." But I didn't look back. When I got home that night, I opened my anonymous Reddit account and posted one last update. It wasn't about revenge or pain. It was about healing. About remembering that when people try to make you small, the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's living in a way that proves you don't need their approval at all. The post went viral overnight. Thousands of women commented, sharing their own stories, thanking me for giving them courage. And then I got a message request. It was from Jason. He'd seen the post. He knew it was about him. And this time he wasn't angry. He was broken. The message sat at the top of my inbox, glowing like a ghost that refused to stay buried. "I read your post. I know it's about me. You made your point. Congratulations." For a second I almost deleted it. But curiosity pulled me in again. The same weakness that once kept me in a relationship with him. He continued. "I just wanted to say, you were right. About everything. You were the best thing that ever happened to me and I ruined it. I thought being funny made me confident. I thought mocking you made me in control. I was pathetic. And seeing everyone online agree with what a monster I was, it destroyed me. But maybe I needed to be destroyed." There was a small flicker of the honesty I'd always wanted. But instead of satisfaction, I just felt tired. Because it wasn't about him anymore. It hadn't been for a long time. I didn't reply. Over the next few days he sent more messages. Some apologetic. Some desperate. One even said, "I still love you. Please can we talk? Just one last time." But I didn't respond. I knew what would happen if I did. The endless spiral of manipulation, guilt, nostalgia. The same trap I'd escaped once before. Then one evening as I left my gym I saw him. Jason was standing near the parking lot holding a small box of flowers. He looked thinner, paler. His confidence was gone. He looked like someone who had finally realized what he'd lost and knew it was permanent. "Emily," he said softly when our eyes met. "Please don't go. I just wanted to say this face to face." I froze for a moment, then nodded for him to speak. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice cracking. "Not the kind of sorry that expects forgiveness. The kind that means, I finally understand. I hurt the only person who ever saw me as more than my ego. And I can't undo it. But I needed to tell you that you didn't deserve any of it. He looked down, holding out the flowers. These aren't for getting you back. They're to say thank you. For making me realize who I actually am, and who I never want to be again. I took a slow breath. I hope that's true. I really do. But your apology doesn't belong to me. It belongs to you. You need to forgive yourself, not me. He nodded, tears in his eyes. I know. He swallowed hard. I see you now and you look happy. Strong. And I realize that I never actually loved you right. I loved what you made me look like. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. He handed me the flowers anyway and I accepted them, not as a symbol of something rekindled, but as a quiet closing of a chapter. As I walked away, I heard him whisper almost to himself, "Take care, Em." That night, I placed the flowers in a vase not because they reminded me of him, but because they reminded me of how far I'd come. I had become the version of myself that he said would never exist. Strong, independent, confident. Not because I lost weight but because I lost the need for validation. A week later, I was invited to be a guest speaker for an online women's support group. My post had reached thousands and they wanted me to share my story in my own voice. As I spoke about my journey, the pain, the humiliation, the rebuilding, I realized something profound. Revenge hadn't healed me. Forgiveness hadn't either. Growth had. Jason's downfall wasn't my victory. My peace was. Months passed and sometimes I'd still see his name pop up in mutual circles online. People mentioning how quiet he'd become, how he started therapy, how he'd stopped drinking and started volunteering. Maybe he really had changed. Maybe he hadn't. But either way, it wasn't my story anymore. One day I got a final message from him. It was short, no pleas, no apologies. Just a single line. I hope you're still doing amazing. I smiled. I deleted the message and walked out onto my balcony, where the evening sun painted the city in gold. Life had gone on, but this time I was living it for me. As I turned off my phone, a notification pinged. Someone had commented on my latest story post. You don't know me, but your story gave me courage to leave my toxic partner. Thank you. That was the real ending. Not the breakup, not the viral post, not Jason's regret. The real ending was freedom, the quiet, glowing kind that doesn't need applause. Because when someone shames you for who you are, the best revenge is to become someone they'll never deserve to stand beside again.